What a preseason coaches poll was released today. I know everyone's excited about that, and I have some thoughts on it I'll be uploading a little bit later on. But I'm going to tell you something right now. Even with the Hubble telescope, you won't find Nebraska in any poll. Hey, good morning, it's UncleLou here. Yeah, that's right, it's me, UncleLou, and guess what? I'm live for you on LouTube today. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it also in addition to that as well. Hey, subscribe to this channel if you're not already. Did you know I post college football videos almost every single day of the year? It's true. Some of them are even watchable. I don't know about this one. That'll be left up to you, the viewer. Let me know in the comments down below whether you think this video was watchable or not. And at the end, when you see my record for Nebraska, you can let me know how wrong I am. Scott Frost is entering his fourth year as head coach in Nebraska, and things have not gone as planned. It hasn't been good, to say the least. His first 3 years, going back to 2018, 4-8, 2019, 5-7, last year, 2020, 3-5. It's absolutely ridiculous. You look at their record the year before that, 4-8 under Riley. So what? 4 losing seasons now in a row for Nebraska. Unbelievable. 3 in a row under Scott Frost. Things have got to change and change in a hurry, or Scott Frost can find himself out of a job come the end of the year. This is very disappointing. Scott Frost, of course, was one of the most highly sought-after coaches in all of college football after his time at Central Florida, which ended in 2017 with an undefeated season and a New Year's Six win over Auburn in the Peach Bowl. He decides to kind of go back home to Nebraska. The expectations were maybe a little bit too high, but still, there has been absolutely no improvement at Nebraska from the day Scott Frost got there till now. And that's what's unacceptable. No one expected, at least reasonable people, I don't think, expected Nebraska to be winning 10, 11, 12 games a year immediately under Scott Frost and competing for Big Ten titles. However, when you're sitting on a team that's winning 4 games a year, you do expect some improvement on that with a new coach. Bowl eligibility should be the minimum requirement that anybody is willing to accept in Nebraska. And so far, Scott Frost just not getting it done. In fact, Scott Frost's first 3 years at Nebraska are worse than Mike Riley's last 3 years, the previous head coach. Mike Riley was fired. In his last 3 years at Nebraska, he had less losses than Scott Frost has in his first 3 years. So you can't overestimate how bad Scott Frost has done in Nebraska. And we can list the reasons why. We can talk about QB play or injuries or whatever we want. The reality of the situation is, it's one thing to inherit a team that's winning 8, 9 games a year and try to improve that. You inherit a team that's winning 4, 5, 6 games a year, you have got to show some improvement, especially at a place like Nebraska. And like I mentioned, if Scott Frost doesn't get it turned around, in my opinion, this season, he could very well find himself out of a job. Like I mentioned, 4 straight losing seasons. The players, to me anyway, appear not to be buying in at Nebraska. Second year in a row, the second offseason in a row that Nebraska's leading wide receiver has transferred away from the program. Unacceptable. Cade Warner, a team captain, transferred out. Last year's team captain for Nebraska transferred out this offseason. Things just are not going well in Lincoln. Let's take a look at their offense for 2021 and see if there's any way Nebraska and Scott Frost can try to get this thing turned around. They return quarterback Adrian Martinez. Seems like he's been there forever. He came in 2018, Scott Frost's first year. Looked okay at times, looked like a freshman at times. He's been inconsistent. He has struggled with some injuries. They've played other players at QB, most notably, of course, Luke McCaffrey. A lot of the Nebraska fans were sold on him, thought he was the better of the two options. Luke McCaffrey disagreed. He also transferred out. So you're pretty much stuck with just Adrian Martinez. He was your leading rusher last year. When your quarterback is your leading rusher in big-time college football, that's not good. It's not good at all. He got 47% of the carries. Unbelievable. 47. Well, between Adrian Martinez and Luke McCaffrey. So this is not by accident. This is by design. The quarterbacks are running the ball 47% of the time. The quarterbacks. 50% of Nebraska's rushing yards were from their quarterbacks. I don't know what's going on. It sounds like something a smaller school would do. One of these tricky-dicky offenses, a Georgia Tech running the triple option. This is embarrassingly bad, in my opinion. What do you have at a running back position this year? Well, you do bring a guy in from Southern Cal, a transfer, this Marquise Step. It's possible he could be okay, but he got injured in the spring, so we don't know what we're going to get out of him, if he's even going to be able to play come the start of the year. Offensive line, great. You returned 4 starters from last year's last game of the season. Nebraska played several different variations of their offensive line last year, but one I guess they settled on in the last game of the year. 4 of those players returned, and it's a huge offensive line in terms of size. I mean, you're talking about some big boys on that offensive line, led, of course, by Cameron Jurgens, but it's going to have to play a whole lot better than what they've played the last couple of years. At wide receiver, similar story to the offensive line. You've got some big, tall guys at wide receiver. Samari Torre, I believe his name is, 6'3". Tight end Austin Allen comes back. I mean, it's not that there's no talent or ability on Nebraska's offense. And again, I've been hard on Adrian Martinez, but we've seen flashes where Adrian Martinez looked like a Heisman caliber type QB. Not that he would win the Heisman, but he has looked phenomenal at times. Problem staying on the field, though, and inconsistency has really bit Nebraska on the offensive side of the ball, which is head-scratching, really, when you think about Scott Frost being an offensive guy. Let's look at the defense. Unfortunately, it's not much better. 98th in America in sack rate last year. Unacceptable. Only 7 takeaways all year long. Miss way too many tackles. Give up way too many big plays. Not a lot of positives to take from Nebraska's defense last year. Defensive line this year, Ben Still, a good player, potential to be great. We'll see. Linebacker, JoJo Doman, again, same thing, good player. Can he be great? I don't know. He's your leading tackler last year, so that's a positive there. You get your leading tackler back from last year. DBs, Deontay Williams, safety, could have a big year. Again, it's a lot of coulds when you look at Nebraska's defense. It's hard to find any player on Nebraska's defense that you can be confident is going to have a great year. The talent is there in some instances, but again, we're just not seeing it on Saturdays. 5 returning super seniors. That is good. These are players that were given an extra year of eligibility due to last year's weird COVID situation. So you got 5 players on your defense who would not be there. They're out of eligibility, basically, but were granted an extra year due to COVID. 9 starters total return on the defense. So that's by far the biggest positive that I see about Nebraska heading into 2021 is 9 of the starters are back from last year. So a lot of experience and a lot of continuity on the defensive side of the ball. But they have got to play a whole lot better, or this is going to be Nebraska's 5th losing season in a row and the 4th under Scott Frost. Let's put the schedule up on the screen and see what they can do. All right, one thing to point out about this schedule real quick before we get started. Nebraska has 2 bye weeks this year because they play in the quote-unquote week 0. The college football season starts Labor Day weekend, right? The weekend of September 4th. The week before that is the quote-unquote week 0, and you have a handful of games being played over the course of that weekend, and Nebraska is one of those teams. On August 28th, they actually play at Illinois. This is a game that was originally scheduled to be played in Dublin, Ireland, but again, because of COVID concerns and things like that, the decision was made a long time ago to move this game out of Ireland back to the United States, and it's going to be played on the road for Nebraska at Illinois, week 0, August 28th. You should win that game. Illinois is not a very good team. Now, they do have a year or two here and there where they beat a team maybe they're not supposed to beat. I'm telling you right now, if Nebraska loses this first game to Illinois, if Nebraska, and Illinois' got a new coach too that's only been there for a year or two, if Nebraska is not at the point in year 4 under Scott Frost where they can beat Illinois in the Big Ten, this is a loss. Then it's a lost cause. And I'm not even trolling. If Nebraska loses this game in week 0, August 28th at Illinois, I would fire Scott Frost right immediately after the game. Just like they did to Lane Kiffin at Southern Cal. I wouldn't even let him get on the plane. Lane Kiffin got fired in Arizona on a tarmac. They wouldn't even let him fly back to L.A. I would do that to Scott Frost. If Nebraska is not in the position in year 4 under Scott Frost where they can win at Illinois, then forget it. It's over at that point. I'm giving you a win there because, God, I don't want to see that happen. That would just be humiliating. Now, the following week, you play Fordham. All right, that's going to be a win there. You'll beat them. Buffalo, I'm giving you a win here. Buffalo's had a couple of good years here and there. Khalil Mack, of course, famously attended Buffalo, probably the best player they've had in a long, long time. But there's no Khalil Macks there right now. I've got you at 3-0. Now, here's where it just gets ridiculous. Week 4 at Oklahoma. This is a non-con game, which congratulations and shout out to both Nebraska and Oklahoma for finding a way to get this game scheduled. This was one of the games that college football fans loved watching every single year, no matter what team you were a fan of, and no matter what Nebraska or Oklahoma's record was. This is one of those traditional college football games that feels like it should be played every single year. And I know they haven't been able to find a way to get it played every single year since Nebraska left the Big 12 and joined the Big 10, but they did come together and get this thing scheduled. And not only that, it's a home and home. It's not one of these pointless neutral site disasters. So I want to congratulate both Nebraska and Oklahoma for finding a way to get this done. And to Texas and Texas A&M, eat it. They found a way to do it. Why can't you? Now, of course, that problem has been solved because Texas is joining the SEC and they'll have to play Texas A&M now. So, hey, Shorthorn, you won't be able to dodge the Aggie man no more. Yeah, you won't be able to dodge the Aggie man no more. And don't get excited, Texas A&M, man. You guys playing dress up, people running around thinking they're in the ROTC. It's not even a military school. But you're going to lose to Oklahoma. In fact, this game is going to be ugly. I would not at all be surprised to see Oklahoma win this game by 40 points. I'm not trolling or exaggerating. I don't do that in these videos. If I tell you something in this video, it's because I really think it's going to happen. I think Oklahoma is going to absolutely skull drag Nebraska for 4 quarters in this game. This could be one of the ugliest, most lopsided games of the year. This is going to be ugly. You're 3-1. Then you have to play on the road at Michigan State. I would put Michigan State and Nebraska in a similar category, honestly. Michigan State's got a head coach heading into his 2nd year. They've been disappointing for the last 4 or 5 years. Nebraska's got a head coach heading into their 4th year. They've been disappointing for longer than that. Whoever wins this game could become bowl eligible. Whoever loses this game, it's over for you at that point. I think you lose, Nebraska. I'm sorry. I think this is a toss-up 50-50 game, and I gave the edge to Michigan State because you have to go on the road and play them there. So shout out to Sparty. I think they get the win against Nebraska. The wheels are falling off after starting 3-0. Now you're sitting at 3-2. Now here, Northwestern. Now before you get mad at me about Michigan State, I've got you beating Northwestern. So if it makes you feel better to swap these two and beat Michigan State and lose to Northwestern, fine. I've got you beating Northwestern for probably your biggest win of the year. How's that make you feel? I've got you beating Northwestern at home. The following week, I've got you losing to Michigan. I'm sorry, I'm not. It's not that I'm extremely high on Michigan, but they're in a way better place right now than Nebraska is. I think you take a giant L to Jim Harbaugh and company. How about this? On the road at Minnesota. Loss. Sorry, doesn't Minnesota have like 20 returning starters? Tough place to play, kind of. They're going to be much better coached than you are. Sorry. It's just a fact. You lose again. Bye week, your first bye week. You come out of that, you got to play Purdue at home. I've got you beating Purdue. I think Jeff Brom, much like Scott Frost, is a coach that could be on the way out in the Big Ten. Jeff Brom's got to be kicking himself in the butt. He had an opportunity to leave Purdue 3 or 4 years ago when they beat Ohio State that year and all that. He had an opportunity to go to a different Power 5 school. He turned it down. Kicking himself now. Now he's going to find himself fired here pretty soon at Purdue because they can't buy a win. I think you beat them too. You play Ohio State. Come on. What are we talking about here? Much like the Oklahoma game, Ohio State is liable to beat the absolute soul out of you. They're going to drag you up and down the field like a dead body. That's just what's going to happen. Then you got another bye week. On the road at Wisconsin, lost. Too much jump around up there. You can't compete with Wisconsin. Again, they're a better coach team. They have better players, definitely have better lines of scrimmage, and they're going to beat you. And then your last game of the season, Iowa, another loss. So not a good season here. I've got you at 5-7, okay? Best case scenario, absolute best case scenario I see, 6-6. I don't see a way you win any more than 6 games. Okay, maybe you beat Michigan State. Okay, great. But maybe you lose to Minnesota. You'd still be 5-7. Best case scenario, 6-6. Worst case scenario, 4-8. I don't see some kind of like biblical letdown where you go 2-10 or something like that. I just don't see it. I think you a minimum of 4 wins, a maximum of 5. But I've got your record pegged at 6-6 with your 6 losses coming on the road at Oklahoma, on the road at Michigan State, at home against Michigan, home against Ohio State, on the road at Wisconsin, and home against Iowa. If you go 5-7 this year, do you want Scott Frost back next year? And what is the breakaway point for you when it comes to Scott Frost? If you would keep him if he goes 5-7 this year and you would keep him, What if he goes 4-8 this year? Would you still keep him? What about 3-9? Would you keep him no matter what? Are you one of these people that thinks a coach deserves 4, 5, 6 years before you evaluate or judge him? Let me know. I'm just curious how the Nebraska fans feel right now about Scott Frost. How long of a rope does he have? How hot is his seat? I'd like the Nebraska fans to let me know. Anyway, I really appreciate you watching this video. Have a good morning.